The mother of a woman killed by her boyfriend says she feels completely betrayed by the justice system. 25-year-old Kennedi Westcarr-Sabaroche was strangled by her partner in East London in April last year. Gogoa Lois Tape was initially charged with murder, but prosecutors then accepted a guilty plea to manslaughter due to diminished responsibility. And Kennedi's family believe justice has not been served. I've been speaking to Kennedi's mum, Linda Westcarr, and I asked her about Kennedi's relationship with the man who killed her.
They met in college, they were young, and he was a couple of years older than Kennedi, and they had a long 9-year relationship, but as part of that relationship, it felt that he was coercive towards Kennedi, but without her knowledge of it. There were times where things were good. It seemed to change when Kennedi had her daughter. I feel that her partner at the time, the perpetrator, felt she had changed and was not giving him the attention that he craved. And I feel that he was quite obsessed with Kennedi, and I think this led into the controlling, coercive behaviours, and it was little things that I picked up on along the way.
Can you talk to me about what happened to your daughter?
I can. On that day, they talked. He phoned her endlessly on the day, FaceTimed her. They were laughing and joking, talking to each other on and off throughout the day, into the evening. And then around 8:30, he called her again and asked her to come and meet him. And she picked him up in the car. They drove around. What we know is that the car, which was down an alleyway, he got out of the passenger side. He then left the vehicle and walked back to a grassed area, and he got an object and returned to the car, and he lunged at her and strangled her for 8 minutes. He used a knife to attack Kennedi. And within that 8 minutes, she lost her life.
He was then arrested and you expected a murder charge, but instead, what happened?
Yes, you're right. We expected a murder charge, and he was charged with murder in the beginning as the police led the investigation. But months after that, CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, took a plea, decided to accept his plea to manslaughter based on diminished responsibility. And the case took a turn at that point. The coercive, controlling behaviour had not been picked up on and not been looked into. We met with CPS and they told us they had accepted that plea and they were no longer going for a murder charge, so there wouldn't then be a trial. It was absolutely devastating to hear that, firstly, that a plea had been accepted. We hadn't been consulted, firstly, as a family, about the plea and what the possibilities of that plea would or could be. We were told when the decision had already been made by CPS. So we were totally devastated about not having a trial, not being able to face him in court, not being able to speak Kennedi's truth, what happened to her.
Your daughter's killer was given a hospital order because the grounds of diminished responsibility were based on the fact that he was found to have undiagnosed schizophrenia. This raises a lot of questions for you. You've asked for an urgent review of this sentence on the grounds of undue leniency because a hospital order, while he may never leave hospital, and that is the sense that you're given, if he's deemed fit and well, he could one day leave hospital. And you want to see a change in the law, don't you? Explain to us what you want to see.
I think in our case, there were a number of disposals that could have been considered. And I think the hybrid order, which is an order which sees people who have a need to go to hospital, to have some time in hospital, be treated for that, and then when well enough, serve time in prison. And there's the hospital order. For me, the question to the Prime Minister is, if somebody who has a need to go to hospital, who has committed a crime and a need and should also be punished, is able to bypass a hybrid order, then my question is, who meets the criteria for that?
We have written to the Prime Minister asking for an urgent meeting about this. Have you had a response yet?
We haven't. I haven't had a response. We wrote to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, on the 6th of September, but we haven't had a response from his office as yet. I want to be able to say to him that we need to listen to victims, survivors. We need to change the laws that will protect violence against women and girls, and it's just not good enough to just have lip service. We absolutely need to change this, and it cannot wait. The sentencing bill, they're all too far away. And I just want the public to recognise and realise what actually does go on in cases like this, where we feel that a crime is committed and the obvious thing would be maybe a trial and a judge and jury decides what happens. And I'm here to tell that story that isn't quite like how it happens.
What's happened to your family has strong parallels with the Nottingham attacks. And I know that Emma Webber, the mother of Barnaby Webber, who was killed in that attack, has reached out to you because, of course, the man who killed her son got a hospital order as well. She's fighting the same battle that you and your family and so many others, no doubt, are fighting too.
Absolutely, and we welcome and we thank Emma Webber, and I know that there's lots of families, as you just rightly said, and we want to be able to come together to fight that together, because I feel that our voices would be stronger together. We will move this into the direction that it needs to be, and to change the law going forward for others, may not be necessarily for our loved ones, but for others that unfortunately may come up against this.
Well, a huge thank you to Linda for talking to us at a very difficult interview for her to do, but such an important one that her and her family wanted to put across Kennedy's case and the challenge that's facing their family. We've put Kennedy's case to the government and also to the Crown Prosecution Service. This is the response from the CPS this evening. We accepted pleas of manslaughter by diminished responsibility against Gogoa Tape only after having carefully reviewed medical evidence from experts who agreed he was substantially impaired by delusions arising from schizophrenia. Nonetheless, Tape remains criminally responsible for his actions, regardless of the impact of his mental health on his culpability for this awful crime. Members of our prosecution team personally met with Ms Westcarr-Sabaroche's family several times to explain our decision-making, and we will continue to be available to assist them. Meanwhile, a government spokesperson said we are committed to halving violence against women and girls in a decade. building a justice system that fundamentally reduces offending, supports victims of these crimes and gets justice for families. Well, the family's fight for justice has been dealt a fresh blow tonight. Linda and her family receiving this news earlier on. The Solicitor General telling them that Kennedy's killer sentence will not be referred to the unduly lenient scheme. In her letter to the family, Ellie Reeves MP told them that her killer's actions were appalling and no sentence can undo his criminal acts, but she said judges had followed the sentencing guidelines correctly and the Court of Appeal would be unlikely to increase the sentence.